See, I got it set up where I just go right to the. I don't go through YouTube.
Well, see, that's what but see, I don't recognize this screen. I don't know why that's coming up.
But to me, they're like it's trying to play the last meeting. Unless, I don't know. See?
This is the screen I want. Okay. You guys?
Okay.
Okay.
Are we ready?
Yep.
Okay, it's 9:30. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. The first item is approval of the agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, say no. Minutes of the December 6, 2022 board meeting.
Move to approve.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. This is the time, place, and date for a public hearing on termination of a lease concerning the bioprocessing training center. I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll move.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. The hearing is open. Have you received any written comments concerning the
No.
hearing?
No.
I think I'll give just a couple minute explanation of why we're at this point. 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago, there was a need for a training facility for the Cargill facility out there. When I say Cargill, there are a lot of other entities out there that use the facility. Colleges at that time were not able to get the federal funds to build a facility like this, but the county could. So we went together, the three of us, the Cargill, Indian Hills, and Wapello County, and we raised the funds. And the interesting part here, I think the building back then cost about 1.6 million, not counting furnishings. And the county's total investment in that building is $10,000. We were able to raise the rest of the money. Now, some of that money that we raised, we had to make some guarantees. And one was with the Federal Economic Development Administration. We had to guarantee it was going to be a training facility for 20 years. And it had a 20-year useful life. And once we built the facility, then we leased it to Indian Hills for $1 a year to carry out their program out there. And in the meantime, the people in the Cargill facility were able to use it for meetings, for training. There was a lab there. Well, after about 18 years, Indian Hills determined that they were going to carry on their part of this training on campus instead of in that facility. Now, if we had left the facility and not using it as training, we had to pay back the Economic Development Administration. And this was not based on we're in 18 of 20 years, so we only have to pay them back 2 years. No, you have to pay them back the whole amount. Plus, if the value of the facility had increased, they look at I think it was 37% of the money they put in. That value may have increased, and in doing so, we would have had to pay them back a greater amount than 600,000. But Indian Hills kept it open until we got a release of agreement, was in May of 21, where we got a release of agreement. I filed those papers with the EDA, and we got that done. We had to make a couple guarantees. One was that the facility was built for training. We were going to try and make an effort to keep it a training facility. The best way to do that was to have an agreement with Cargill. Since Indian Hills was terminating their agreement, have an agreement with Cargill to continue using it. And we had that. We're at a point now where the boilers are 20 years old. If we're going to keep the building, we gotta, and they are using the building for training. COVID kind of slowed us down on this because they were looking at the building for training and a possibility of a finance office. But at that time, people started working from home and it wasn't needed. Now the circle's turned and we're back. And we own the building. We do not own the land. The agreement is that the original agreement is if we cease to have this as a training facility and we cease to have an agreement with Cargill, we have to put the land back the way it was originally, which means building gone. So for anyone that might think you're selling a building, a big building, for 50,000, no, we're going to save us 400,000 because that's the cost to tear down the building, which would be foolish to do that. So that's why we're here today. I've asked Matt Thompson from Indian Hills to come since they've been running it for 20 years. And we have Craig and John from Cargill that could make some comments to the board about what they think where we're at this time. So
I can start here.
Okay.
Just ran in from a meeting at the Entrepreneurship Center at the North Campus and trying to catch my breath a little bit. I'm a little bit out of shape, so bear with me. I just want to say thank you to Wapello County and all the partners involved, Cargill over the years, along with Ginamoto and all of the companies at that complex have really benefited from the educational training facility that facility has been. We made a little bit of a shift in our programming about 3 years ago at that facility, and really kind of worked with the county and Cargill to establish continued training in that facility, but it just looks a little bit different. And I think overall I'm very supportive as college president, but also as a taxpayer here in Wapello County to see the facility going to Cargill to really continue to have that footprint and to really have Cargill in Wapello County as well. From a tax perspective, that facility would go on the rolls, and that's good for Wapello County overall. And I know that they'll continue to strengthen the partnership and the employment opportunities that exist here in Wapello County and at that complex specifically.
thank you.
Yep, I'll say a couple words. So, you think back to 1998 when this building was established, and I'd just say the foresight by the people that were involved in it. I wasn't involved in 1998, it came shortly thereafter. But there was, a real problem with people returning to work too, right? It wasn't for the young college students as much as the adults that need to return into work from the ethanol into the ethanol space. And the number of people that have went through that program and hired by Cargill or Ginamoto or ethanol plants is tremendous. We've talked about the economic impact that's made. It's gigantic. What's happened over the years is the welding programs, the other programs at the schools have taken students away, which really changes the dynamics that we talked about. A couple of years ago, Cargill decided that, we'd take on the bills from Indian Hills to keep the facility operating. And I was shocked and didn't like the number, but it costs over $100,000 a year to operate that building, right? And that's in gas and electricity and security. And so, that's Cargill's commitment, is that we're going to keep the building open as a training center. It's just not for Cargill. Ginamoto uses it, Bacher uses it, CMW. When the chlor-alkali facility came in, they used it as a startup office. We have another biotech company coming right now that's building. And so it's not a benefit, it is a benefit to Cargill. It's a benefit to everybody in that biotechnology campus. And so, our commitment is that it's valuable. We've had, the World Food Conference was there. So when people come and they're looking at places to build, that is our showcase. That is where we take them and say, this building allows you to have big conferences, allows you to train all your employees, allows you to get them back into the workforce easily. And so I appreciate everything that's absolutely been done. And we want to keep it going. It's not cheap, to your point. There's a roof, there's a boiler, there's other investments that we're going to have to make besides the ongoing investment of making it run. So just thank you for everybody.
Well, I was telling these two guys before we started, this to some might not seem like, a big deal. We're just transferring it to you. This is history making. If you look back at the beginning of this, the foresight that people had, and when you said you came after, I think I'm the only one that was involved at that time and putting this together. And if you look back at like the federal government, EDA, they give $600,000. I think Indian Hills gave 200,000. We got 75,000 from the Rural Economic Development Fund, and we got another $500,000 from the state. And there was another probably 100,000 from the other companies out there in the utilities. Everybody went together. So, here we are today, and we're not terminating anything. We're extending it. We're just changing who owns it, which is, if you would have asked through the years, after the first couple of years, I'm not sure anybody would say, well, the county owns that. And no, Indian Hills or Cargill, but that wasn't the case. So we're not changing anything except who owns it. And we really, when I was involved years ago, I think it was 2 or 3 presidents ago, they determined that a development anywhere in a 20 county area benefits us all. So we can't complain that it's over in another county. I will bet you that there's a lot of people from Wapello County that are employed over there. So the idea is we're just continuing on for another generation of opportunities here. And someone had told me back in the beginning that if you have a dump truck load of material and you waste it, that's a big expense to the companies. But if you go over to the training facility and you use a teacup full of that material, it didn't cost you very much and you can still get good results. So having been involved from the beginning, I am really pleased that we've been able to smoothly transition it. And if the board approves it today, I think it's a great idea to see you take the reins of the ownership of it. And people may not know who owns it, but they're going to sure see a benefit from it being still there instead of tearing the building down. Any questions or comments?
Appreciate everyone's work in getting to this point. I know a lot of time on the phone and emails back and forth with the feds on your end, and so appreciate that.
When we first told about this, we called the people in Colorado. So we don't even have those records. We got to go. It took them quite a while to go back in the archives and find them. And we didn't have all of them either. Now I don't throw anything away.
I know.
So in case there was a question today, I brought the folders I had, and those are historic. So I thank you for this offer. And if there's no other comments or questions, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. And then I would need a motion to approve the termination of lease agreement and directing the chair to sign on behalf of the county.
we'll go for it.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Thank you. Resolution number 60, 2022, abating property taxes for 1015 Transit. 1015 bought a couple properties, and what always happens is, depending on when they buy it, they're going to get taxed for that year. But if they owned it, like in this case, 1015 owned the building for 3/4 of the year, they don't pay property taxes, so they got billed for that. So I prepared the resolution to abate 9 months of the property taxes. They'll still owe 3 months for the time they did not own it.
Move the resolution.
Any questions or comments? comments? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Resolution 61, 2022 disabled veterans homestead tax credits for 2022.
Move the resolution.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Presentation of annual report, Conservation Gothic House.
No, we're gonna tag team here. I gotta speak it. Luckily, it's just across the street at 10 o'clock. But Rick is prepared for each of you a copy of the annual report. Both of our entities, since we're both under county conservation, are in the same folder. I did the one that's in the black folder. I did prepare that one. Didn't know I needed three, but I brought one. I also brought you the comprehensive plan, just because I don't think you guys ever got a copy of that. The comprehensive plan that both boards approved in June. So as far as the Gothic House goes for the year, of course, I wasn't there for the entire year at that, at that point, because the year starts in July. And so when I accepted the job, I kind of tried to do things status quo as far as events and things that we've always done before. So I think my report next year will have verbal report, will have much more meat to it. Since I can say, here's what's changed, here's what we've done better, I'll be able to do that next year. However, in light of coming off of COVID, you'll see that some of the events that we had, the numbers, of course, were down, and they're going to be coming off of COVID, but I can tell you that those numbers are slowly starting to rise. Same with revenues that are on there, because if you don't have anybody coming to the center, you don't have any revenue, right? So whether it's donations or gift shop sales. So with that being said, I guess we're gonna keep going the way that we're going and try to keep growing and expanding and check out those tourism opportunities to bring more people here.
What about that? I signed that letter
Yeah.
for you on that. form.
You did. That was submitted to Destination Iowa on the 15th of November. So by the time we got all our ducks in a row, 15th of November, and I found out a couple of weeks ago that there's $20 million left in the fund. And there's a lot of people ahead of us.
28 now. 28
Oh,
million.
it's up to 28?
Dyersville gave back 6 million.
Oh, nice.
We heard
Nice.
that they're right now in the beginning of the August application. They're just starting into the August 1st application for doing those. So, yeah, we got quite a few ahead of us yet, and hopefully the money won't run out.
Would you want to maybe give a short explanation of what you're going to do with that?
Absolutely. So at the American Gothic House Center, we have a gallery that has displays in it. There is a media room that holds comfortably 15 people. And then there is a gift shop. And so when the center was first envisioned, one of those original people dreamed, she was a beloved teacher, and she dreamed of having education at the center. Well, coming from a background in environmental education before I came here, I'm going home to do education and to do programs and to involve the schools and the kids and summer camps and bringing field trips. I don't have anywhere to put them. And so one of the biggest complaints that I've heard from schools when I tried to get them to come in the spring, we've already done that. We've already been there, we've already done that. Well, two things. One, they haven't met me yet. And so two, my goal, even when I was a naturalist, my goal was to never have anyone say that to me. So, we might talk about arbitrarily bats in kindergarten. I talk about them again in 5th grade, but I promise you it's not going to be the same contact. So nobody's going to say to me, we already did that. So I have that vision and I have that same drive. I just don't have anywhere to put anybody. And even when we had the tour buses are starting to come back. And so with the tour buses, when I got 50 people, I don't have anywhere to put 50 people. Lisa can back me up on this because she's volunteered at the center before too. There's nowhere to put all that many people. I can maybe put, like I said, maybe 15 people in to watch a movie, which most people have been sitting in a bus. They don't want to sit and watch the movie at that moment. They want to move around first. So I have to split people up. So some of you can go in the gallery, some of you can go outside and have your picture taken in front of the house. Okay, and then switch, and then let's hope that it's not raining. Okay, so that was tough. When I had the red flag car tour in September, there were 70 of them. And so in order to accommodate them, I had to engage 2 other properties in Eldon, and we had to go on a rotation. And so because I was the one that couldn't accommodate all the people, everyone was tied up all day instead of just for their hour to hour and a half presentation. So, so we definitely need some place for people where we can expand programming opportunities instead of just coming and looking at the displays because there's no room for anything else and leave. The schools, again, my goal is to get them coming back, but when I did two second grades, I don't know if you guys have been inside the Gothic house itself, but there's 2 rooms. I had class number 1 in that room, I had class number 2 in that room, and I taught from the doorway. It was very difficult when it was a question and answer situation. I mean, I made it work because that's what I do, but you know, it could have been a much better experience. You know, because these days of social media and word of mouth, that's huge. So it could have been a way better experience, but we did what we could. So looking for opportunities that are year round, that are not weather dependent, to expand, to bring people here, you know, because they don't just come to Eldon. You know, there's nowhere to stay in Eldon, you know, let's come and stay all night in Atumwa. Let's eat either at Tommy's or in Atumwa. Let's get gas. Let's go run to the store because we forgot something. So to bring them there, we've got to have something. And here's the second thing. We have a gift shop. No storage was planned in the original building. And we have a ton of merchandise. We have a shed outside that has the extra merchandise in it, where you can't put candles, though, you know, anything like that. We have a shed that's outside. Now that doesn't work very well if you're working by yourself. And that also opens your cash register, your donation boxes up to theft. If you are outside in a shed trying to get size extra large when you only have a small on the shelf. So there's no storage whatsoever in that building. So there's a few things that we're trying to overcome. And hopefully with this Destination Iowa grant, we put in to just put a building, which is about the same size as the existing building, which will be 1 grand room with storage, with closets, with a space where we could easily accommodate 100 people, because some of those buses have in excess of 80 people, depending on the size of the, and then with the people that are just there because they're just there outside of the buses. So that's the goal. And we'll see what happens, I guess. Like I said, we didn't get ours in until the middle of November, and there's still several people ahead of us. Now, the bonus to the proposal that we did is that we put in under the tourist attraction fund, because our project comes in under $500,000 and is possibly eligible for 100% funding. 100% because of what it is. And I had to explain why we didn't qualify under 2 other categories, and I think we have a very good argument. So with that being said, I guess we'll see what happens.
Well, thank you. Does anyone have any questions maybe she didn't address, comments? Thank you.
Okay. Well, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm going to slip out because I'm going to talk at the library at 10 o'clock. I'm sure if there's any other questions that come up, I'm sure one of the 2 of you would probably answer.
Make sure you don't want me to.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thanks.
On the conservation board side of things, we are rebounding from the COVID year. Revenues up for campgrounds, cabin rentals,
It's been a pleasure.
School
I hope
student
you still do.
participation coming to workshops and programs. For example, last budget year, students were 2,800 and this year was 6,200. Students participated in programs that we provide. Social media outreach is increasing along with the full-time office manager and the new website the county has, which is beneficial. Last year, we reached about 36,000 people just through social media that commented, knew about us, shared our stuff. And so it's a way to get out there and reach the people. Also highlights is Eddyville Dunes and Garrison Rock was put on the reservation conservation list for potential down the road, but that's a 10-year process. So they're on a list to be reviewed when the state legislature gets a chance, and then that highlights them as important to the state of Iowa and gives them more recognition and then draws them in other people across the state to it. But at the same time, Eddyville Dunes was recognized by the Des Moines Botanical Garden, and they had an event this last fall representing Eddyville Dunes, and I actually went to Des Moines and presented on it, and they've had several tours to the site, and they're actually creating their own Eddyville Dunes at Des Moines Botanical Gardens, and they're really interested in the benefit and the uniqueness that it has. And this next summer, it will be part of the National Prairie Tour Network, national workshop we have in Des Moines. So there'll be a 3-bus coming out to Eddyville Dunes during the week of June to tour the site and look at the uniqueness of the prairie and Eddyville Dunes and the habitat that it provides. Also this past year, Arbor Day weekend, we did working with the DNR. We did a tree program that people could plant trees at their residence. The DNR had 240 trees available. We had 600 trees requested. So we didn't even have close to what the public in Wapello County wanted. That program rotates around the state, and we hopefully will get it back in 4 or 5 years because the state shares it around. So there'll be a little while till it comes back to us. We again this year we did hire Carrie Nicely. I think we were fortunate with that to operate as our coordinator for the Gothic House, and that was a benefit. The Conservation Board spent $30,000 of their REAP fund working with Shive Hattery for the development aspect of the Pearson Butterfly Park and long-term plan and the cost of it and the design work and such. Again, to move on forward to try to look down the road as developing that area. We hired also a full-time office manager, like I said, to work on our social media, which was is increasing and getting more outreach for us. We also worked with DNR on a fish habitat grant and developed and improved the 5-acre lake at Sycamore, which is across from the airport. And so that's already, the dam was leaking and it was having poor access to some of the people, and it's greatly improved that aspect and rip-wrapped the dam so it doesn't erode and elevated it so it provides more access around the pond so people can go out there and fish. And again, that's been beneficial. We were fortunate enough to work with Nature Conservancy. They set us a crew of 8 college students for a whole week this summer, and they did a lot of projects and programs working on brush clearing and spraying of weeds and work on the cabins to help us again with manpower, which was not many counties get that chance. So we were happy to get that. And then also we are working with Iowa State University. They've employed a AmeriCorps position through them, which is a full-time assistant to our naturalist, which is also beneficial to us for reaching out to more people. Other than that, you know, things are improving with the getting further away from COVID. We're getting more and more use, and we hope to with development programs and our outreach that we will continue to grow.
Any comments on where the county agreed to give you $500,000 to match on the $1 million grant?
Yeah, we used to give that September, and they tell us that we're just starting on August. And so it may be a few months till we get, you know, where that falls and, you know, how far they get down till they run out of money.
Maybe you could give just a brief explanation of what you're going to use that $1
Sure.
million for.
Great advantage with the Destination Iowa, which we applied for to improve the campground at Pioneer Ridge. There's 9 sites. We do not have septic. We do not have Wi-Fi over the site. We do not have a playground. And so the overall proposal, because we know it will drive more people to come to Wapello County to change up a lot of things, but we're looking at going to 25 sites with septic so they can stay longer. Right now without septic, they usually more than 2 days because their RVs fill up.
and providing Wi-Fi. If they want to come there and stay during work, they can work from their RV. Playground equipment makes it more family friendly. Upgrade in shower house, offer more shower houses. And right there, close to where they're at right now, they're sharing it with the hay barn. And when there's a wedding on at the hay barn people don't know why the shower people are over there taking a shower because you're in my area that I rented. So that'll benefit both group entities a lot more. And then we'll take the 2 showers at the hay barn and convert them into 4 bathrooms, so add more bathroom space for the people having the receptions there. And then we know that we're also then going online. You can reserve the site online through My County Parks. You can be anywhere in the state of Iowa. You can pull up that day. There'll be a square right on the post. You can scan it with your phone, reserve the site right there, your My County Parks. So it makes the area much more user friendly and useful. And people that are traveling for long distance, if they know they got a reserved site, they're more quickly to stop at your place and think, well, we're taking a chance, you may be full with only 9 sites. So we know that'll help a lot. So it's a great improvement and we're excited about it. We've been working Shive Hattery with the development of all that and all the estimates and plans and stuff done with that. So, but thank you for your support on all that.
And sometimes people don't really understand where the beginning was, like Pearson Park. I think that's a diamond in the rough. You know, when you get to start new and be creative with it. And the way it started was, I had a friend I was in Little League when he was coaching Little League with, and we'd speak, but he called me out to his house, Keith Pearson, and we're sitting at the kitchen table, and he said, Jerry, I don't know, I think you've got you've had a tough pull with the public. I want to give you my farm. And I laughed. Yeah, what are you going to give me a farm for? He said, well, let me clarify that. I want you to handle this. When I die, I want it to go to county conservation. And so let's meet again tomorrow. So I got Kurt Baker out there, and in just 2 meetings like that, we did expect Keith to live much longer, but as it was, he passed away in about 7 years. So the 3 people that were involved in getting it that day are going to get a C. At least 2 of us are going to get a C, the fruits of your labor on it. But it was just, you know, a citizen that wanted to do something good for the community. And I said, well, we'll put your name on it. And he wasn't sure he even had to have that, but he said, thank you if you do.
Yeah, Pearson Park will be developed into what the idea concept is, a Pearson Butterfly Park that'll all be centered around the idea of pollinators and how important they are to the world's food supply. They say about 1/3 of it, what you eat, is pollinated in some way, from bees and butterflies to birds and beetles. And so that would be the whole educational idea behind it. And it showed up in the Iowa Magazine as one of the top 20 projected projects in the state of Iowa. When they did their edition here about County Conservation Board a few months ago, it's just going to take the money, like everything else, to get up to develop it to make that happen. And what we think will be exciting, because it'll be the 2nd one in the state that has the actual designation of butterfly park. And so we think it'll be awesome. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay. Any other business to come before the board? We have a treasurer's investment report for November 2022.
Move to accept and file.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Anything else to come before the board? For those of you who've been following the bridge, the walk bridge, Wayne had a conversation with the engineer in Quincy that says they have a contractor that wants to bid on it. And if he gets it, he's not going to wait till summer. He wants to start in January. So we could, by spring, it's not a lengthy construction, by spring, have the walk bridge open.
Yeah,
We're getting some good news.
the bridge itself is a 3-month span to be built. And if they start in January, it'll be ready for them in February, March, somewhere. So, we have some other issues we gotta take care of though.
Yeah, there were some things that I think we had thought about saving some money and having our crews do it, but I think it's just best we go ahead and have an addendum to the contract that's gonna get done timely if we do it that way. Anything else to come before the board? If not, I thank you for your attendance and I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion in a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.